The word scale in the context of scaling your business has become quite the trending buzzword to a point where a lot of us are a little bit jaded by business coaches, online programs, and consultants offering to scale your business. And I don't think it's because entrepreneurs and organizations no longer want to scale their business. The unfortunate thing that's starting to happen because of that trending nature is that there is a perception that scaling has now become this universal term that has one definition, when in fact, scaling is completely subjective. Hey, it's Wei, and you're listening to the Limitless Leader podcast, the podcast for powerfully ambitious entrepreneurs and leaders wanting to have limitless freedom to vision and focus on purposeful impact and growth. And this episode is going to be addressing something that may literally be keeping you from being able to scale your business the way you want to scale. In fact, it can even render many businesses unscalable. And it's talking about your definition of what scale actually means to you. Now, there is a common thought out there where the only thing that you want to scale in your business is revenue. And they always say cash is king and that's going to solve everything. Well, I beg to differ just because of what we've seen with our clients that focused only on revenues. There is this interesting phenomena that money is, we all know it, money is kind of an accelerant. And then if you put gasoline, right, gasoline is kind of an accelerant, on fire in a way that you don't want it to burn, it's going to create more damage than good. We hear it all the time when it comes to people. Money doesn't change people. It actually magnifies more of what you are. Well, guess what? Scaling for just money and money alone and using money as the only metric, if you will. A lot of people use money as a tool of scale, but we use it as a metric. It will only magnify the chinks in the armor, so to speak, of your organization. And this is why in our framework of scaling people up and out of their business, we spend a lot of time in the beginning making sure that the foundations of that organization is infinitely scalable. In other words, however, large our client wants to scale their business, that the business foundations can handle it, right? It's like building a tract of homes over a landfill versus building it on solid bedrock, right? But the point of this episode is to highlight a very important thing that we've noticed over the last 20 years of helping entrepreneurs and leaders all over the world to do this, is that whenever we successfully helped a business scale up and the principles out of the daily grind of the business, it always comes down to building a scaling model around the people that are in it. Every business is different. And I saw this not too long ago when I was going around observing the differences between franchises that did really well and other franchises that did not within the same franchise. So franchisees within the same franchise had different results. How is that possible when everybody is working the same model? At the end of the day, it came down to the leadership. It came down to the people. The strategies were the same. What they were taught were the same. The business in a box concept only works if the people work. So every business scales differently. And the biggest takeaway I am hoping that you can take away from this episode today is that to take the time to define what it is that you want when it comes to scaling your business. And it's not about the industry or the type of business that impacts the different ways to scale. It is literally you. If you are an owner of your business, if you are the entrepreneur, if you are a leader of your organization and you want to scale your team, if you want to scale your organization, It starts with you in how you approach the business. And when I studied these different franchisees and within a franchise to give feedback to the franchisor, I found consistently across the board what separated the success and the failure of the different locations was due to the human beings behind it all. And so over the years, we figured out that when we want to successfully scale an organization to 50K months or 100K months, and then getting 50%, 75%, or 100% out of the day-to-day grind of the business, where they can then have the option of vacationing for a whole year and the business will continue to grow without them. It came down to, first and foremost, defining the way the leader or the owner of the organization leads, their unique style of running a business, the unique style of structuring their message, the unique style of how they want to serve their customers. After that's defined, it doesn't end there. To sustainably scale, you now have to take into consideration the unique combination of the different types of people in the business. How we then refined this approach, and I'm going to break down in a little bit our specific framework so that you can walk away from this episode with actionable things that you could do for your own business, was that had a client that had multiple locations in her retail business. Now, each retail business had the same products, had the same payment gateway, all the different things to say. The only difference was there were different locations and there were different people in the different locations, right? They had a trainer that went through each location and everything, trained everybody the same way. But ultimately, when we looked at the numbers, certain locations did better than others. At first, before we started working with this client, they were saying, oh, it's because of the market. It's that time of the year. And then as I'm looking at the numbers, I said, but wait, this location here consistently across the board, no matter what time of the year it is, no matter what's going on in the economy, continues to do better than all the other locations. Why is that? And so when we dove deeper, we realized that the unique combination of people and the manager that was running that particular location was optimized better than the other locations. Okay. What does this have to do with you, and how can this help you? Well, if we look at our framework, okay, our entire framework is broken down to 3 different phases. Phase 1 is foundation. Phase 2 is acceleration. And phase 3 is orchestration. When we start with phase 1 as a critical first step, okay, before we developed and matured phase 1, it was sprinkled throughout phase 2 and phase 3. We basically had acceleration and orchestration. That was it. It wasn't until that we had a dedicated critical first step of phase 1 in terms of foundations, scaling foundations, establishing scaling KPIs, establishing the unique style of leadership, and the unique combination of people that are there. That's when we were able to make sure everybody that we work with scaled successfully. So let me break it down into simpler terms. What happens throughout this framework? First and foremost, we identify the unique leadership style. Not everybody leads the same way. And how we improved that client with the multiple retail locations, we realized that the trainer was training everybody the exact same way, thinking that that's how it should be done, without really understanding the type of leadership or type of managers that were in each location. There were essentially 4 locations, each with 4 different managers. Some even had two managers that switched shifts. And just to kind of make it simple, one location had a manager that was, the way they led was high activity output. She was a total doer. And so she led by example. Another location struggled with leading by example because she was more of a kind of a big picture delegator and approached things in a more delegatory way, which worked better for that location. How we were able to get the numbers up for that location was to move away from that doing leader type of approach to more like a delegatory, benevolent leadership type of dynamic. And that's how we got the numbers up on that one. Okay. There was another location where, yeah, they were okay at doing, they were okay at delegating, but they were really good at inspiring and motivating the staff to perform at the highest level. And so that location became more of a inspirational, motivational type of leadership dynamic in which they had daily meetings where the manager was able to really pump up the staff and get the staff going. And it didn't work for those other two. And so when at the end of the day, what happened was we helped create a custom culture, so to speak, custom microculture in each of those locations. So if you were to think of it like that, and you wanted to define what it means to scale for that client with the retail locations, then you might want to kind of think about, well, that's not how I want to scale. Right, because that's not your business. That's not your dynamic of leadership. So the framework then identifies a unique style of leadership that you have. Then you structure the business around that unique style of leadership so that it allows you as a leader to have almost like an effortless way of running the business because it's designed around how you naturally lead. Then you make sure the people within the organization are in alignment with that unique leadership style, first and foremost, by optimizing the staff that you already have and helping them understand their unique way of doing their work and also the unique style of how you lead. More often than not, that's usually all it takes to optimize the unique dynamic of people that are inside the organization is through objective understanding and honoring the unique nature of every person that's in there. Then the last part to create a highly adaptable, a highly sustainable scaling organization or a scaling dynamic where your organization can scale infinitely is called orchestration. And what you're building there is an ability for people to adapt to additional growth in human capital, so to speak. I don't like using human capital, of human talent. When people quit and move, there's a change in dynamic, and then that adaptability is built in as well. Okay. All this is built up. And the reason why we like to use the word orchestration is because that's what the leader ultimately does at the end. They help orchestrate the best sound of performance that will come out of the organization, which leads to limitless scalability. Now, you can have a customized definition of what it means to scale your organization. Okay. If you found this to be helpful, or if you want to know more information, at least first and foremost, I hope you enjoyed this episode. And if there was something that I talked about that you want to dive deeper into and seeing how it can shift things in your world from a scaling standpoint and become a limitless leader, you could visit our website, limitlessleader.co. Or you can find us on Facebook or LinkedIn to connect with us, or email team@limitlessleader.co. And all the links are below in the description. And make sure to mention this episode that inspired you. So if you were to jump on a call with one of our team members to get more information or to get a little support and little guidance, maybe access some of our free trainings that we have available, we know what to send you. Okay. But until next time, keep striving onward and upwards for the limitless possibilities that lie within you.